I've been procrastinating making this video for literally years now. If you don't know, I have another channel and I was planning to upload one there like 2 years ago. So the thing is, I can talk about editing for literally days. There's a lot of information that I want to share and it can be sort of overwhelming to write that down. I never ended up getting to it, but I have my notes on a Google Doc and so I am ready. Sorry if my laptop is making noise. I'm not going to focus on how I make the craft videos on my other channel. I'm going to be focusing on general tips for beginners as well as how that ties into the more complex edits that I've done. I've been seriously editing for about 4 or 5 years now, and so I've gotten a lot of questions, not just from YouTube but from a lot of my friends on how I edit. I wanted to curate the perfect amount of information that I believe any person who wants to start editing should know. I've watched a lot of these videos to see what other people said, and I feel like there are a lot of things that aren't said that I feel like are important, and so I'm going to be sharing those things today. So I'm going to be structuring this video into 3 parts: programs, tips, my workflow, and in my workflow I'm going to show my workflow, of course. I'm going to show how I do my graphics or my introductions, and I'm also going to explain how I do my vlogs. Programs. Contrary to popular belief, the program that you use does not matter. If you have a MacBook, iMovie is great. If you have a Windows, there's a lot of free programs out there. You can even use Windows Movie Maker. Your starter program will not matter because you won't know how to use the complex features that, for example, Adobe Premiere Pro and After Effects may have anyway. The point of upgrading programs is so that you have more freedom. So, for example, in iMovie, if you want a clip to fade out, you just drag the fade out effect onto the clip. But when you're in Premiere, for example, you have to keyframe it, and I'm not going to explain what that is, but it's a very simple process but an unnecessary amount of work that you have to go through if you just want a clip to fade out. Hi, I'm editing right now and I wanted to be a little bit more clear about this. What I meant was if you're making a slideshow for a class, for example, and the only transition that you need to use is fade out, you don't have to go out of your way to go download a program like Premiere or After Effects, because you can do that all in iMovie. And if you did edit it in Premiere, it would just be more work for you to figure out how to use those features anyway. That's also the reason why people use Premiere and After Effects together, not just After Effects, because even though you can do everything in After Effects, it's more complicated and it's just much easier to use Premiere. So I hope that clears things up a bit. Keyframing is super more complicated, but it definitely gives you much more freedom than iMovie would have, and that's the benefit of using more advanced programs. It gives you more freedom. When you first start, I do believe that it's important to know the basics of editing before you jump into more complicated programs like Premiere and AE. Advanced programs are definitely a bit more daunting and intimidating, and it can feel very overwhelming, especially if you don't have somebody to guide you. I personally started making videos with Windows Movie Maker, and that was in elementary school. I moved on to Sony Vegas in middle school, and then I started using After Effects and Premiere in high school. I do admit that if you start with a more complicated program like Premiere or After Effects, it pushes you to learn much quicker than you would have normally learned, because you're constantly searching up YouTube tutorials and like just how to do things, and you're figuring things out on your own. But if you don't have that motivation, it might be very difficult. When I was in high school, I actually started with After Effects instead of Premiere, and if you don't know, After Effects is much more advanced and complicated than Premiere, so it gives you much more freedom with effects like the name implies. I started with that because my brother recommended it to me, and he himself in retrospect, I should have started with Premiere because that's a lot more simpler. Starting with After Effects did push me to learn very quickly and learn the ins and outs of editing very fast. So I just mentioned Premiere and After Effects a lot. I'm going to explain what they sort of are now. Premiere is here and After Effects is here. So both of those programs are under Adobe, and Premiere is the program that most professional editors use. Most YouTube videos, I believe, are edited with Premiere or either Final Cut Pro, but Premiere, I think, is more professional just because it works on all PCs, whereas Final Cut Pro is for Macs, I believe. There is a lot of things that you can do on Premiere. I'm saying Premiere a lot, but I don't know what else to call it. It's a good program because it gives you just enough freedom to edit whatever you want. But it doesn't give you the freedom like After Effects does. After Effects, you can do many more things. If you've seen those K-pop videos where there's like effects flying out of the idols and they're like colored and stuff. That's what After Effects does. You can do things like that. You can take things out of a video, like if you don't want a house in a video, you can take that out. I don't know how to do that. I've never learned how to do it because I don't need to, but After Effects gives you much more freedom than Premiere does, but Premiere will do the job. I'm going to move on to my tips now. The first one is that practice makes progress. It doesn't have to be perfect practice. For most things, mindless practicing won't always make progress. You have to be aware of what you're doing. With editing, that's not the case. Any practice will make progress. Practicing allows you to experiment with transitions, find your own style, and figure out an instinct of when to cut clips. An instinct to cut clips is actually a thing. A lot of people also ask when to cut a clip, and that comes with practice. Eventually, you just know when to cut a clip.
Like, how do you know when to cut? And I couldn't describe it at all. Like a lot of editors, I cut based on instinct.
I don't cut from what I call knowledge. I have to come into and I have to feel it.
Following that tip, edit to the music. This is the easiest editing method that anyone can use. It makes a video look much more put together and more satisfying to watch. Just edit to the beat of the music. If you don't have great rhythm or musicality, you can always expand the audio file and usually the waveform will show and you can edit based on the waveform. Cutting to music is definitely a great start on making your videos look much more put together. That's definitely how I started. Nothing is original. I read this book a few years ago called Feel Like an Artist by Austin. I'm not sure how to say his last name. I'll put it here and you should do exactly that. Feel like an artist. All creatives pull inspiration from somewhere when they first pick up a new hobby. I dance as well, and I know that a lot of new choreographers pull choreography from pieces that they like and then they put it together to make their own choreography, and even new choreographers do that too. The thing with new choreographers is that they know what they like already. In the same way, you have to remember that an artist is a collector, not a hoarder. You only have to collect things that you love and try to incorporate that with their own style. Finding inspiration is definitely very, very important, and I'm going to be talking about that in my next tip. But yeah, remember to ask yourself what is worth stealing. There are a couple of pages in this book that I think are very important, so I'm going to include a few here. I don't have much to say about these pages, but I feel like they speak for themselves. Find inspiration. Some videos that have inspired me so much are Fan.tasia and Watchtower of Turkey. I'll link both of those below, but they're so good. I believe the person who edited Fan.tasia is a new editor, and so he was only using After Effects for a few months, I think, and he edited like a god tier video. It's a mashup of Disney movies from, I forgot what years, but there's so much masking and the patience shows. It's so good. I highly recommend watching that even if you don't want to be an editor. It's a very good video. The other one was Watchtower of Turkey. I can't even explain how good that video is because there are things in that video that I still don't know how to do. There's a lot of playing with time and there's a lot of audio stuff in the video. I don't know much about audio. Those two videos definitely inspire me because I want to become as good as them, and it's really cool because I used to be inspired by a bunch of other videos and I used to think, wow, I wish I could become as good of an editor as this person is, and eventually I did get to that point. Having inspiration is really good. I have been going back to these two videos for years now and they never fail to make me want to edit again. Inspiration is so important. Fonts are important. I use the website font.com. Fonts are definitely more important than you think they are. They set an overall tone and aesthetic to a video. It's important to choose a font that you not only love but also fits the theme of your video. Sometimes I scroll endlessly on font websites because I find it pretty fun. Put yourself out there. As I said, I edited, wait, did I say that? I don't think I said that. So when I was in high school, I edited videos for my track team, cross country team, ASB, clubs. I edited a bunch of videos, and I also had to edit videos for my YouTube channel, and so it was very overwhelming. But if I didn't do that, I wouldn't have improved at the rate that I did. I think that I did improve at editing very, very quickly, and that has to do with the fact that I practiced a lot and I was putting myself in a lot of different situations that would require me to edit a video. If you want to improve, you have to find opportunities for yourself. Now is obviously not the best time, but when you do go back to school, if you are in school, go ask organizations and clubs if they need videos, because more than likely they'll need a video. And even if they don't need a video, why wouldn't they want a free video? Don't be afraid to ask to edit videos. That's how you grow. Figure things out on your own. If you don't know how to do something, go watch a YouTube tutorial. If that doesn't work, click around. Just clicking around will help you figure out what each of those buttons do, and watching a YouTube video will also teach you things that you probably weren't even looking for in the first place. It definitely still happens to me. Figuring things out on your own will help you become more familiar and comfortable with the program. I think figuring things out on your own is just a very good tip to have with anything that you're learning, because it helps you, like I said, become more familiar with what you're doing. I'm going to go into my workflow now, so I'll see you guys on my computer.
I'm going to start by explaining how I do my graphics for my introductions. I normally edit that last, but I'm going to be explaining it first. In this particular video that I'm editing, I had already edited with these folders before, and so all I had to do was trace those folders, but what I originally did was I found clip art of the folder on Google and then I traced over it. And as you can see, I am just copying and tracing each part of the folder individually and then grouping it together. So for what you're seeing now, I created the object for every single shape that you see. It is a bit time consuming, but honestly with this method you can really do anything that you want. This is normally the go-to way that I create these graphics. I do all of this in After Effects just because I'm comfortable with it, but I know that a lot of people do this stuff on Photoshop. I find it easier just to do it on After Effects because it's like I'm already editing on After Effects. It's just simpler for me personally. To make the actual objects move, I just use keyframing. I don't think I'll be able to teach you how to do that in this video, but you can watch a lot of YouTube tutorials on it if you want to learn how. It's very, very basic. Say I want an object to move from the left to the right of the screen within 5 seconds. I would set a keyframe at the beginning of the 5 seconds and another keyframe at the end of the 5 seconds. On the first keyframe, I would have the starting position, and on the last keyframe, I would have the ending position, and then it just moves for me. That's basically what keyframing is in a very, very quick nutshell, and that's how I create these graphics. I feel like it's important to go in with a vision. What I personally do is I have a vision in my head and I try to recreate that as accurately as possible in After Effects. As for my actual workflow, let me just walk you through what I do. I split up my edits into first a rough cut and then a final cut, and usually there are multiple rough cuts and multiple final cuts. My rough cut consists of me just editing the clips that I want. I do this all in Premiere Pro, and this is where I subtitle everything as well. So as you can see, there's no effects, there's no transitions, it's purely just clips that I cut together. I usually do this very, very roughly, hence it being called a rough cut. I like to have extra cushion for when I add music and I can still cut to the beat of the music without cutting the clip even shorter. For example, if there was music playing and this was my final cut already and the next closest beat was over here, because that's where the waveform goes up, I would have to cut it down to here because that's where the music cuts off. And so I like to make my clips a little bit longer just so I have that cushion to cut where I actually want to cut it without making the clip too short. So this is my final cut. As you can see, it's not as... Okay, it does look pretty hectic, but what I do in my final cut is just add in things that I didn't from my rough cut. So that's usually images like this, the transitions, the titles, and two specific things that I want to share are the scribble animation and the baker's transition. So these are both presets that you can download online. I'll probably leave them in the description box. Scribble animation makes your text move, and I use this a lot. I use this in every single video. So this is the text normally, right? But with scribble animation, it makes the text do this. And so it looks much cooler. The only downside with scribble animation is that it makes your text a little lower quality. It makes it a little blurry, and so in those situations I sharpen the text. Usually I sharpen it about 10. It makes the text look a little bit better. The other effect that I wanted to share is called the Baker Easy transition. Call it a Baker's transition, but apparently that's not what it's called. I only paid $1 for it, but the price might have gone up because it's more popular now. There's a more comprehensive video made by the person who created the transition, so I'm not going to show you guys in depth. It basically allows clips to flow very smoothly from left to right, zoom in and out, and even do rotations. There's like different presets here that you can do, and it's really easy to do despite how intimidating it looks. I use this in every single video that I make. I got this transition like in 2016. It's been very useful since.
Hi, I'm back. I sort of am thinking about making this video for like my craft videos that I made on my other channel, because I also got a lot of questions about that, but I'm not entirely sure yet, so we'll see. I hope that some of you found this video helpful. I hope you all are taking care. Bye guys.